My presentation on stepping. Here is an example from So You Think That You Can Dance, an audition where these two guys did stepping.
Step. Let's see what you're gonna do. Yo, I think you want to break down for real quick? Oh, you want me to break it? All right.
So that was a really good example of what stepping is today, but to know about what it is today, we got to start with what it was. So it began in South Africa with foot dances. The image on your right is from one of the very first. It's called the gumboot dance. And this all started when they were all working on the railroads, and they weren't really allowed to speak about they weren't really allowed to speak in general, but it was really about how overworked they were and how much they hurt, and if they hurt themselves, they weren't able to tell someone else without getting in trouble. So to kind of forget about their pain, keep themselves entertained, and really just to keep the morale of the group up, they stepped together as a group to keep themselves whole. And then, if you bump it up a couple hundred years, in the 16 and 1700s in America, the slaves would use drums to communicate. But then, when the slave owners found out that that's how they were talking to each other, they took them away. So, inevitably, they needed another form of communication to be able to hide from the slave owners. So, they pounded their feet, clapped their hands, hit their thighs, and this is how it all really came to be as a dance. But it became more popular in the early 1900s when African American sororities and fraternities were just looking for a way to kind of make things upbeat again. They used them in some of their sorority and fraternity rituals. And then other sororities and fraternities started copying them, and that's where they all started making their own chants. So now to today, stepping is using your body as an instrument. There is no music, and that's really the point. You're hitting yourself, you're hitting the floor with your feet, you're just rhythmically pounding to create a narrative. And most of the time, those narratives are very angry. And I don't know if they're particularly meant to be angry, but that's how they began. So all the videos you watch, they're a little less playful and more stern in the face, stern in the body movements, but that's what the dance is about. And so if you look to your image, this is a video called the Try Guys Try Stepping, and it's about 3 white guys and an Asian guy, and they decide to go to an African American fraternity and say, hey, what is this? I want to learn about it. And the video is really awesome if you look it up. It's just these 4 guys that wanted to learn about it, and they learned about it. They learned about the culture and the history, and they did a performance. So it was pretty great. And it's also been very popular. It was on that BuzzFeed video, and then it's also been prominent in many of the Stomp the Yard videos. School Days is another good one. Drumline, How She Moved, and Mac and Me had a really good scene where a bunch of kids were in a McDonald's, and they were all stepping as well. And that's what stepping is, and I'm going to leave you off with a quote from Jackie Malone, who is a historian, and she wrote a book in 1996 called Steppin' on the Blues about African dance culture. And her quote is about step, and she says about step, it is one of the most exciting dance forms to evolve in the 20th century, which is really true. It's the basis of a lot of other dance forms. And with that, thank you.